So, welcome to the essay orientation for 2026. I'm Anika Gupta and I'll be taking your class. Now, before we begin, how many of you have written any essay or have an idea about essays for UPSC? Very few. Okay. So, the agenda of today's class. So the key takeaways for today is to get into a mindset for writing essay. Now the requirements of the essay paper are very different from what we expect for GS. They're very different. And this is also why the marks in essay vary a lot more than they do in GS. So the agenda of today's discussion is to get into a mindset for writing essay and what is needed, etc. Now, we'll be discussing 4 things. What are the expectations from the paper? What is this essay paper about? We'll brainstorm a topic after that, and how do we start preparing? So first is, what are the expectations? Now, most of us have high expectations from the essay paper. That, essay is that low-hanging fruit where with very less effort, we're able to score good marks. How many of you believe that? With low effort, low hanging fruit, we're able to score good marks. But we're also concerned now that the marks are not coming as much as we anticipate, because there have been students who've scored 120 plus, but then the marks dropped. Yes, I hope you're all familiar. So this is the concern in essay. On a similar way, the way marks drop, the marks also increase. For example, we have a mark sheet for a student, 2022, single essay, 61 marks. 2022, both essays combined together got 61 marks. 2023, the marks doubled. It was 61 marks in one essay. So it was 122 in the final exam. And this is possible in essay paper with less effort if we're able to fix certain mistakes. Basics of essay writing are wrong. But this also tells us that essay needs effort. Essay needs that practice. Okay? Similarly, we can see that the marks in optional paper were 139 and 118, whereas the marks in essay was 142. So essay is also that paper which can get you that rank. So he got rank 10. So it was also the essay paper which had the highest marks. But we still face certain challenges with the essay. Now, why do we have those challenges? Because the syllabus is very open-ended. Because we don't know what to study, what are the requirements of the exam, how to write an essay. Some people are struggling with language. Some are struggling with pestle approach use karna hai ki nahi. Some are struggling with individual, society, nation, value-based essay, etc. So lots of differing statements in the market on what should be done and not be done. We usually call them myths, We don't know ki karna kya hai until you go to the exam hall, you try. So it's easier to practice beforehand. And there's a syllabus for the essay paper. Very, very open-ended, but UPSC is telling us what is going to get marks. So the syllabus is, candidates may be required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay, to arrange their ideas in orderly fashion, and to write concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Now, when we read this syllabus, we can see that UPSC is itself giving us pointers on what gets marks. So first, keep closely to the subject of the essay, not the keywords, but the subject of the essay. So anyone who is confused on what to do, first row. Anyone who's confused on what to write in an essay, what should not be written, किस पे marks आते हैं, please refer the syllabus, you will find your answers. UPSC does not talk about headings, no headings, thesis statement, no thesis statement. It does not say how to, what should be done. It's just giving a directive, 3 points, stay close to the subject of the essay. Arrange ideas in orderly fashion and write briefly and concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. So again, no comment on vocabulary. Vocabulary बहुत अच्छी होनी चाहिए, examples कैसे होने चाहिए. UPSC is silent on that. All that is needed is a simple language but effective and exact expression. That is the need of the hour. Okay. So before we start any exam, any GS preparation, we always take a look at the PYQs. Similarly, we'll take a look at PYQs for essay also when we start our preparation. Now, most of us feel, how many of us feel that अब philosophical topics आते हैं, philosophical topics come now, they didn't come earlier. Okay. Few of us, very, very few. Okay. So, very rightly said, they were always philosophical. They were always open-ended topics. So, if you look at the paper, 2014, with great power comes great responsibility. This is also philosophical, open-ended paper, the way we see now. But, it's only in the last few years we've started talking about topics as, it's a philosophical essay or a GS topic essay. But if you notice, they were always philosophical. So with great power comes great responsibility. Words are sharper than two-edged sword. Philosophical. Then definitely very subjective. Was it the policy paralysis or the paralysis of implementation which slowed the growth of our country? But even then it's analytical. It's not a GS question, it is still analytical. It requires you to address your thoughts. That's the essay mindset. What are you thinking about this topic? What does this topic mean to you? Is the growing level of competition good for the youth? 50 goals in Olympics. Can this be a reality for India? It is in 2018-19 when topics again changed their nature. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Now when we look at this topic, it's not from GS1 society. It's not from social justice, not from poverty. But it is an overall topic which says an analysis. We're not going to write what is poverty, what are the different types of poverty, what is the implication of poverty, what is, how those implications imply that poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. That's not the topic. Just now before coming, I read an essay on a very similar topic. And this is what was done. Poverty, what is poverty? It's absolute and relative. It's measured by multidimensional poverty index. Then it is external, it's caused due to external and internal factors. It has this implication. But we're going to get 250 marks in GS3, which is reserved for all the data that you have. What is an essay paper about? An essay paper is for your thoughts why poverty anywhere is going to threat democracy, prosperity everywhere. So it's an open-ended, not a poverty topic, despite having the GS keyword. Similarly, a people that values its privileges above its principles loses both. This is not polity. This is not polity privileges or governance. Again, open-ended. So philosophical in a way, because it's analytical. So you will see that even earlier topics were analytical. A good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. Alternative technologies for a climate change resilient India. What has changed in the last few years is familiar keywords such as poverty have gone away. वो थोड़े कम हो गए हैं, and the other keywords is they have started. So this is the difference in the essay topics. Why they suddenly feel more philosophical than what they were earlier. So we'll take a look at the last paper, 2024, last year, 20th September. There are few familiar keywords, science, forest, and social media. But it's important to go through the PYQs to understand what is being asked and how do we start our preparation. So the first section, section A, forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them. The empires of the future will be empires of the mind. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. And doubter is a true man of science. Similarly, section B, social media is triggering fear of missing out amongst the youth, precipitating depression and loneliness. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but to test the character, give him power. All ideas having large consequences are always simple, and the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. If you notice, all of these topics have some bottom line. You know, they're saying something. There's one moral of the story. Do you feel that? Do you see that? Yes. Is any topic very unfamiliar, जिसका meaning समझ नहीं आया? No. So I want you to take a minute and think that if you were appearing this year in 2024, in section A and section B, which topics would you have chosen? Please take a look and decide. Section A and section B, what topic would you have chosen? In section A, decided? Yes. Section A, how many of you would have written on topic 1? Only 4, 5 hands. 5, 6. How many would have written on topic 2? The empires of the future will be empires of the mind. Slightly more, but similar. Let's say 9 to 10. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Lot more. I'll just say maximum. And the doubter is a true man of science. Again, high. So this means that everyone has a certain sense of topics which aligned by default. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path was a default topic which a lot of us could appreciate. And similar to doubter is a true man of science. Similarly, section B, topic number 5. Just, okay, similar to, I think, section A, it's just 7, 8 people. Nearly all men can stand adversity. Only the last bench. Only the last row. Okay. Lot more. 15, 16. All ideas having large consequences are always simple. I was expecting more hands for this, but okay. And the cost of being wrong is less than cost of doing nothing. So it's a very split vote for the second section, but again, it's similar. No, it's not too much, but similar. So we will see that, but irrespective, the meaning of all the topics is clear. We have a sense of what is being said. And you will see this across papers every year. There is no topic which is not clear. And even if there is, you know, for example, philosophy of wantlessness or mathematics is a music of reason. So that was one topic. The section had 4 topics. The other 3 were doable. So do not feel that that one topic is the topic I had to write on and it's tough. Even apart from that one topic, there are still topics that you could have done. Similarly, we have topics from 2023. We'll take a look at topics from 3 years to establish a relation. ये हमको topic आता है. Okay? 2023 section A. Thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. Seems doable. समझ में आ रहा है. Thinking, game, कुछ तो correlation होगा. These are metaphorical topics. Visionary decision making. Seems easier to find examples. Decision making. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Not all who wander are lost. Inspiration for creativity springs from the effort to look for the magical in the mundane. At least I feel that first 3 topics were something which were easier to comprehend for most of us. And इन्हीं तीनों में से we would have chosen a topic. So even if the 4th was slightly on the tougher side, we knew the other 3. End of the day, you have to write on one topic. Even if you don't know the 4th, examiner will not know you did not know it. And it's absolutely fine. What you need is that one topic which you know. Similarly, section B. Girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands, 2 equally harmful disciplines. Mathematics is the music of reason, I just mentioned. A society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. And education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. So you do see familiar keywords, education, girls and boys, patriarchy, but what needs to be, but is the topic on education? Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Is the topic education? No. You do not write about primary, secondary, higher education. You do not write about issues, challenges, way forward. That's not the topic. So, despite having familiar keywords, having the familiarity, it is a very general topic. Similarly, mathematics is the music of reason. This is not a topic only for maths optional. The way mathematics is the music of reason is not for maths optional. Topic number 5 is not for sociology. It is, so topics, they may seem to belong to a particular theme, but they are not meant for that optional paper. Okay? So please keep this in mind whenever you start writing your essay, that you have to write the essay from the perspective of being a generalist, not a specialist, not your optional. Optional knowledge has 500 marks. Ethics, values has 250 marks. So let's reserve 250 ethics for the ethics paper, optional knowledge for the optional papers. And let's do essay differently. This is the mindset which you should have. And with this logic, you will be able to address a lot of myths that you hear. Data nahi hai, quotes nahi hai. UPSC does not say that. UPSC just says, stay close to the subject, stay close to what I've asked you, not the keywords, but the whole topic, and we'll deal with it, right? We'll write the answer. Okay, so let's take a quickly look at 2022. 2022, forests came in 2024 also, topic number 1, it's here, but again, the topic is very different. Forests are the best case studies for economic excellence. 2024 was forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them. Opposite. Even if you'd done this topic, you did not know what to do in the forests precede civilizations. Forests are the best case studies for economic excellence. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators. Familiar keyword, legislation, but that does not mean the topic is polity. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. History is a series of victories won by scientific man over the romantic man. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what a ship is for. Very similar to thinking is like a game. Metaphor. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. Again, we have a metaphor. Repair the roof. You cannot step twice in the same river. Metaphor. A smile is the chosen vehicle for all ambiguities. And just because you have a choice, it does not mean any of them has to be right. Again, I want you to take a minute and think that the topic is clear. You know the meaning of the topic. Everything is good. You could choose a topic and write an essay on. Yes? So, just because you have a choice, it does not mean any of them has to be right. Now, if you were writing this year, in section A, how many of you, take a minute and decide what topic would you write on. Take a minute. How many of you would write on topic number 1? Very, very few, like barely a handful, 5 to 6. On topic number 2, again handful. Topic number 3, topic number 4, almost everyone. Yes, and this is what happened that year as well. Most people wrote on topic number 4. Section B, the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. More than, okay, let's say 10 to 15 of you. You cannot step twice in the same river. See, a lot more students. Metaphorical topics, or suddenly it feels that philosophical topics are easier. Okay. A smile is the chosen vehicle for all ambiguities. Barely 2, 3, 4. Just because you have a choice, it does not mean any of them has to be right. right? So we see that irrespective of how many chose, we see that we have a choice to begin with. We're still learning how to do essay, but we have some clarity in our mind of what topic we would have written on. There is a topic which seems easy to understand, which seems doable, and it feels that समझ में आ रहा है तो कुछ तो हम लिख लेंगे. If like 10-12 pages would be managed. But this is what the essay paper is, which is that it starts with this basic understanding that the topics do not require additional content. Instead, it requires you to think, what does the topic mean? This is how we start preparing for essay. Now, let's discuss some basics about essay writing. So my first question is, how do you think is essay different from the GS paper? How is essay different from GS? We took a look at the topics. So we now know what is being asked for those who had not seen the essay paper till now. Now tell me, what do you feel is the difference? You've seen the syllabus, you've seen the PYQ. What is different? Okay. First is the number of words. Essay requires 1,000 to 1,200 words, whereas GS paper is 150, 250 words. Okay. What else? More thinking and introspection is needed in essay as compared to GS. Okay, I'll say introspection. What else?
More flexibility in essays.
More flexibility. Why do you say there's more flexibility in essay?
We can write from anecdotes to poems to any sort of stories also in essay, and that is not the case in the GS analysis.
We can write anecdotes, poems, or quotes, story, anything. I would say that essays are also open to interpretation. Everybody would have same topic, different interpretation, different examples, different style of writing. Whereas in GS, the keywords would ideally be, 80-90% they'll be same.
GS is academic paper.
GS is academic. And essay is not academic. Essay is general. So GS is academic with very less flexibility. So we anticipate the questions. We anticipate, the examiner is already knows the answer. Your keywords, if it's a question on earthquake, 70-80%, everybody's writing the same keywords, right? So essay is open to interpretation, open to your choice of examples. Essay is a paper which will show your personality. Essay is a paper which will show your personality of how to write essay. So that is what an essay paper is, which is open to your interpretation, and this is why it is different. Okay, that's how. So the expectation of the paper itself is different. Essay के अंदर इतना सारा hard work नहीं है, मतलब the hard work in terms of every essay paper is equal to 50% of your optional. For optional, we study a lot. We think that essay is that paper where I will start studying after the prelims and I'll just qualify. I'll get that 160 or 140. But the difference is that essay does not require content, but it requires your practice. Because to get a top score, there are many things that have to go right. If all of those things go right is when you write a good essay, right? Now, what do you think are those things that have to go right in an essay? Tell me. Okay, it starts with topic selection. What else? Topic. Very, very good answer. How good or bad your essay is, it's going to start with the topic selection itself. What else? Having relevant content. Okay. Let's assume
There should be flow in it.
there should be flow in your writing. So I'll still write relevant content. But over here, it is relevant to the topic. So whatever content you write, you have to write it according to the essence of the topic, not the keywords of the topic. Education is what one has forgotten after one has left school. It is not education, but true education. Why is education that remains with us after we've forgotten most things? So you address that, the meaning, not the keywords. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Why is poverty in a small part a threat to prosperity everywhere? Right? So it's not, the content is not just, as I said earlier, absolute types of poverty, implications, etc. It is the topic. And when we start thinking about these topics, what is needed is for you to take a step back, and you need to start thinking not just as an aspirant, but also as an officer. This is that paper which is generalist, it's not academic. Academic papers were testing your knowledge as a student. Essay is not testing you as a student. It's testing your thinking, your analytical ability. How do you express? How do you articulate? And that is more of being an officer than a student. So, in an essay paper, we will not think like an aspirant, we will think like a leader. That's the difference. What else do you think is important in essay that gets graded? Flow, topic selection. Okay, what's your observation? Okay. And can I add, he says that observation skills to show how we can link real life events to the essay topic. Can I also say that because of this, it's actually more like your personality of your, like, what did you observe? Everyone's observing something, but it's also testing what did you observe and choose to write. Okay? What do you perceive and take from everyone's facing situations, more or less, the bottom line for a lot of them are same. The experiences are different. So what is it that you took away from that and decided to write in your essay? So I'll bring you a brief example. A lot of students, when they write essay, they say that I'm writing something which is very contentious, but let me put the name of a thinker so that it's not me who's saying it, it's the thinker who's saying it. So how many of you feel that's right? You want to write something contentious, but you say that the thinker said this. I did not say it. Is it right? Very few say yes. It's actually not right. Because end of the day, there were different thoughts. You chose to think about that thinker. So it's also your thought. You reiterate it and you choose to write it. To give an example, recently there was this essay I was reviewing, and the student says, in the, USA says democracy, democracy, democracy. But then USA has been misleading the entire world, making us a fool, because in the Middle East, this is not happening. Now, that's not a good essay. That's not a good introduction. USA says democracy, it was actually this, democracy, 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 the cry given by USA. But then it's making us all a fool. And then there's a thinker at the bottom. At the end of the day, thinker pe blame shift kiya hai, but likha to hum hi nahi hai na. So it's not good in an essay because you chose that thought. So irrespective, yes, the observation skills, and these observation skills tell us what your personality is. Okay. So the syllabus was, candidates will be required to write essay on multiple topics. It does not say one or two. It just says multiple. So come one day, there are 3 topics. Do not be surprised. The syllabus just says multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay. Now, when we say keep closely to so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pick different parts of the syllabus and very briefly walk you through what that means, so that you get an understanding of how essay is different from GS and what needs to be done. So keep closely to the subject of the essay. Now together, this is a sample essay. We'll read this with the perspective, keep closely to the subject of the essay. The topic says, 2 cheers for democracy, 1 because it admits variety, and 2 because it permits criticism. 2 cheers for democracy, 1 because it admits variety, and 2 because it permits criticism. Let's read it together. Democracy allows diverse groups to mobilize and pool their power together to emerge a dominant force in the polity. For example, the Rainbow Movement in USA, despite catering to a minority group, the LGBTQ community garnered sizable political importance owing to the democratic credentials of the country. LGBTQ rights issue is being talked about and even accepted in democratic states and around the world. Even in India, hue and cry was raised on the Supreme Court's judgment, after Supreme Court's judgment. So now, read the topic again. Go through this and then I'll ask you a question. 2 cheers for, so you have to analyze, is it close to the topic or not? This is the thing that we're looking at. How far do you feel it's close to the topic? Everyone's clear? Read it. Okay, so how many of you feel this is close to the topic? Okay, very few. How many of you feel it's not close to the topic? How come there can be few hands for both? किसी पे तो agree करना पड़ेगा ना? So, what is your answer? Close to the topic or not? No. Why? Sorry? Supreme Court judgment. Okay. So he's saying that it is not close to the topic because it's talking about the court judgment. Court judgment in a way is talking about democracy. Anyone else has any reason why they feel it is not close to the topic?
He used so much variety but doesn't focus on permitting criticism.
Yes. Oh, it focuses on the word variety because it admits variety but does not focus on the word permits criticism. Good observation. Second, the example starts with LGBTQ, but it just keeps going on and on and on. It's like the argument was forgotten. It's not telling you how or why it permits variety. The only statement made is democracy allows diverse groups to mobilize and pull their power together to emerge a dominant force in the polity. Is that the only way democracy admits variety? By being more representative in the legislation? No. Very narrow. And the example instead is LGBTQ. And once it starts, the student gets carried away and it's written only on this. So the example is too long. It does not address what was actually being said. It gets carried away. Okay. So this is how we feel that we are writing close to the topic, but we actually might not be writing close to the topic. Okay. Because the topic is not democracy. The topic is not, gender inclusivity. But it is 2 cheers for democracy, 1 because it admits variety and 2 because it permits criticism. Okay. So this is how you have to be close to the subject of the essay. The subject of the essay is not just democracy. The subject of the essay is everything. Okay. The subject of the essay is the whole topic, not just democracy. The second thing in the syllabus is arrange your ideas in orderly fashion. When we say arrange your ideas in orderly fashion, someone had said flow. Flow is important. It is this flow and coherence which is arranging your ideas in orderly fashion. So when we say arrange ideas in orderly fashion, it ideally means logically what comes first and what comes later. And it's as simple. It's exactly that you have to do in your essay. So you will have to consolidate your points and put them together. Let's take a look at flow now. The topic is one who cannot determine his goals cannot win. One who cannot determine his goals cannot win. Let's read from here. So when a child like 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh enrolls into a cricket academy, he cannot set the goal of becoming the greatest bowler, 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh. So when a child like 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh enrolls into a cricket academy, he cannot set the goal of becoming the greatest bowler from day one. At first, he is like a fool trying to understand game technique, exploring his interests, managing his emotions, and showing dedication towards work. However, some students may not be able to determine goals or even change goals after university or midlife. For instance, Boman Irani was a photographer for many years before he became the famous actor. This is all written on page 4, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 4. Nevertheless, an aimless life can indeed be harmful. Such a person may stagnate and may never achieve even his basic happiness in life. Unfortunately, poor beggars fall in this category. They don't even have the basic goal of sustaining their livelihood through unskilled work. They are caught in an endless pursuit of basic want, especially when they refuse to work, to counter such half-hearted something. Now, I want you to take a look and tell me what's right and wrong in this. So first tell me what's right. Wrong. Okay, what's wrong?
And he has a bias towards the beggar.
Okay, he has a bias. Okay. He has a bias towards the beggar. Okay. Not a good thing. It does not read too well. Yes, it suddenly feels that the student is entitled. Maybe, it's a very strong opinion against the beggars, against the poor. Because in a way he's saying they don't even have the basic goal of they don't have a goal of sustaining their livelihood through unskilled work. So which means poor do not have a goal. And second, they are caught in an endless pursuit of want when they refuse to work. In a way, poor are poor because they don't want to work. And it's not a good thing that you say in your exam. Because as an officer, you're expected to serve the poor, serve the country, find solutions for them. How will you find solutions for them when you say they are poor because they don't want to work, they refuse to work, yet they have an endless pursuit of basic want? Right? Okay. One thing that is wrong. Anything else? Wrong choice of example where? 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh? What's wrong?
Although he cannot become this bowler, but he was a cricketer, good cricketer.
Okay, so it's a wrong choice of example because 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh could not become a bowler, but he was a good cricketer. Okay. The example is incomplete. Why?
Because it starts about saying the topic of the essay is one who cannot determine his goals cannot win. When it's talking about 𝐼𝐸𝐵 Singh, the student started with what he was doing basically, but it did not connect to the title of the essay.
Okay, so it's not connected to the topic of the essay. It's giving an example, but it's not connected. Anyone else who wants to say what's wrong in this example?
The example of Boman Irani is not matching with people.
With the argument, with this argument. The example of Boman Irani is opposite to what was written here. Okay, what else is wrong? It has, the essay has a negative tone. See, we have just started reading and we can already tell that the student has a negative tone or a personality. It's page 3. Means कि शुरू में ही negative है. So counter arguments में तो it will definitely be negative. What else? The word fool, it just is very derogatory. It's a derogatory word to use, very casual. Fool, calling somebody a fool. Okay, what else?
On page 4, second para, he started abruptly.
Okay, there's the transition is also not good. Transition is bad, right? Suddenly there's no connection between page 4 first para, page 4 second para. What else? So many mistakes.
And I'm not able to understand his ideas.
Yes, we are unable to understand. We've read almost 3 pages, but we still don't know कि वो कह क्या रहे थे. What's the bottom line being said? What's the good thing? The language is nice. Handwriting is good. Grammar is nice. It's very presentable. Small paragraphs, beautifully written, but even then, so the student definitely would think, I'm going to score good. I'm going to score 130 plus. मेरी language बहुत अच्छी है. ऐसे में language लिखना होता है. I'm going to go write 12 pages and I'm going to get the highest. But the problem is, it's not even clear what is being said. Though being said nicely, but not clear. And very extreme words, very opinionated, biased, very negative standpoint.
Can we see from the other perspective, like he is providing a counter argument, which maybe he thinks is positive by saying that
if you are aimless, then also sometimes you will reach your destination.
Okay, so his point is that can we say that it is a counter argument where we can say that though aimless, you will reach your destination. Struggles will be there, but we'll reach. Now there are two problems. First, it's not been written. See, what's written is when a child as one progresses, the goals appear and the path to the ultimate win becomes less hazy. Without any flow, it talks about 𝐟𝐨𝐥𝐿 𝐸, transition's not there. So what the point he is saying has not been written. Now the problem is that a lot of us will, when we write our essay, it's getting reviewed, we realize that हम ये कहना चाह रहे थे, but लिखा नहीं है. If you've written your essay, you would know this. That you were trying to say this, but you did not write it. Now the problem is the examiner is not going to put words. It's an objective evaluation. If he puts words for one person, one student, they have to put words for everybody. So they're objectively going to read exactly what's been written. So अगर आप कहना चाह रहे थे, but लिखा नहीं था, it's not there. The only thing is you're not present with the examiner to tell him, I was going to say this and that's the line I wanted to say. So anything and everything that you want to say has to be explicitly there on the paper. No one will assume. The second problem is, if it's a counter argument, page 3 is not where you give your counter argument. Right? Page 3 is where you first agree with the topic given to you, and then you give your counter arguments roughly page 6, page 7. So again, it's not the topic. So I will say one more problem. In the example on Harbhajan, so when a child like Harbhajan Singh enrolls into a cricket academy, he cannot set the goal of becoming the greatest bowler from day one. But why is it relevant? This is just, we don't even know why he said what the student said. Topic is one who cannot determine his goals cannot win. So the argument's not been written that even if you cannot determine your goals on day one, you will still be able to meet them. वो तो लिखा नहीं, but we've written everything else. So do you see that when we write an example, it's an example. It's not an argument. It's not something you are saying. It's only something you are exhibiting. Ki, see, this happened. But why did it happen is not there. Okay? So I will say that transition throughout was missing. Throughout, language was good, but that's the only thing that's good. The language and the grammar and the handwriting. No underlining, no transitions, no flow. Do you see flows missing? Clearly समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या लिखा है. And this is what will happen. This happens for a lot of us, where we also do not realize what is it that we were saying. Now this would not happen if you brainstorm and you have clarity of thought. So, which we will practice in classes. But this is what happens when you do not have clarity of thought, where I say that you should know what am I writing in every paragraph. Agar aapko pata hai, if you know with clarity, this is what I want to say and this is the line I want to say, you would be able to express it. But if you don't know, how will you express it without being present to the examiner reading your essay? So most important, you should know what you wanted to say. Last part of the syllabus. Write concisely and credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Write concisely means where one word can do not use a sentence. Where a single sentence can do not use an entire paragraph. This is also where your examples become short. This is where your examples will become short, your arguments will become bigger. You have to write concisely. So you want to show point A about Harbhajan Singh, you write only that point. You do not tell me his entire biodata, his entire biography, where he started, what happened, academy gaye, fir ye hua, fir wo hua. Not needed. Similarly, in the introduction, you want to show me something, you just write that. UPSC says, write concisely. And effective and exact expression, again, a very common problem we saw in the previous essay. Student wants to say point A, but he's writing a lot of things. In fact, there's a lot of repetition over here when he's talking about the poor. In the previous screenshot, the student got carried away with LGBTQ. This student got carried away with the poor. Do we see that? Same thing has been written 2-3 times. Poor beggars fall in this category. So, यहाँ पे hence proof कर दिया था. Poor beggars fall in this category. Then they don't even have the basic goal. Then he goes on and says they are caught in an endless pursuit. So same thing is being said 2-3 times. Whereas the topic itself, the syllabus itself says effective and exact expression and be concise. Both of them were not there. I hope everybody can see and observe. If you've written your own essays, I hope you go back and think कि हम क्या गलत कर रहे थे. Also, all of us could say just by reading those few paragraphs, not even the complete essay, that it has a negative tone to it. Similarly, when we write an essay, our personality comes out. We may not realize, but it will be visible. Because when you write 12 pages, you will write what you actually think. Even if you put the blame on the thinker, it's you who's writing it. So it's going to be visible. Topic. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. I'll read it for you. Still, creating yourself is given more emphasis than finding yourself generally. It is because in the process of finding self, one can overly attach importance to self. In the process of finding, one can overly attach importance to self. This, along with ignorance, intolerance towards others, and hostility, can result into tension and havoc in the world. No one really wants this. No one really wants this. People want to live peaceful and prosperous lives. This can only be achieved through cooperation and mutual advantage. This can lead to helping everyone develop and create their lives as they wish. Tell me, what do you feel about this student now? What's your observations?
He would have been shorter at that point, just along with ignorance, intolerance towards others. So he would be more precise over there.
Okay, it could have been more precise, and tell me how.
Like ma'am, the idea of the sentence is also not very clear that what he wants to say. It's philosophical also, and like he has tried to add keywords.
So let's try to help him and tell me what would you write? How would you rephrase it? This is open for everybody. How would you rephrase the sentence that's highlighted? This, along with ignorance, intolerance towards others, and hostility, can result into tension and havoc in the world.
In order to avoid the havoc in the world, more attention can be paid to the rest of the sentence.
Okay, so the preceding line was, it is because, so do we see that it's easy to, the minute you start doing this exercise, there's a mistake. Also try to correct it. Your expression will also become better. So the statement is, it is because in the process of finding oneself, one can overly attach importance to self. This, along with ignorance, results into tension and havoc. So all that we change is ignorance and intolerance. Obviously, ignorance and intolerance will be towards others. So even if I don't write towards others, it's okay. So ignorance and intolerance can result into tension and can result in stresses or something in the world. It can divide the world, full stop. Tension in the world, full stop. That's it. So I cut down all the words. Towards others, hostility will result into tension in the world. We make it small. Yes? Okay? What else is wrong? Only? कहाँ पे? Oh, this can only be achieved. Yes, free वाली knowledge. Only नहीं होना चाहिए. कि only means that this is the only method. No. Yes, so definitely not happening. This is wrong. So this can only be achieved through cooperation and mutual advantage. It can be achieved through many ways. Again, extra word. We don't need extra words. The topics, the syllabus says be concise, exact, effective. What else?
don't think it's related to the topic as such, because
It's not related to the topic only. It's like a rant. Somebody wants to say something, you want to fill pages, let's just fill a page. And fill a page the way बस मन कर रहा था कुछ लिखने का, तो let's just write it. Do you agree? Yes, it's not relevant to the topic. You were also saying something.
Overuse of this, all the sentences feels like very repetitive and it's going back and forth.
Yes, I will say overuse of two words, this and self. Starting के सभी sentences end with self. You know, they have back and forth. So the expression is not good. So still creating yourself. And who writes? No one really wants this. It's like WhatsApp text. No one really wants this. It's one big text, one big paragraph. Again, not required. So do you see that it was confusing because it was one big paragraph? It had sentences which were not purposeful. The student probably did not know what he or she wants to write. And again, this is why when you write one-page long paragraphs or one-page long introductions, this is the problem that happens. That you will write too many things in a paragraph, which the examiner will lose track of. So this is what happens. Still creating yourself is given. This can only be achieved through cooperation and mutual advantage. Then this can lead to help everyone. It's very prescriptive. ये करेंगे फिर ये होगा फिर ये होगा. Very prescriptive. And definitely it's not a way forward. It's not relevant. Lots of problems. And I feel that the language can also be better. Yes? So after looking at this syllabus, candidates may be required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay, arrange ideas in orderly fashion, and to write concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Now let's brainstorm. I'll give you one topic from PYQ, very familiar to all of us. We all know what is girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands. Okay? But let's see how do we phrase our thoughts according to this topic. Okay? You have 10 to 15 minutes to see how do you phrase your thoughts. Okay? The topic is girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands, two equally harmful disciplines. The idea behind this exercise, a topic which is familiar to us. Let's see what our thoughts are and what they should have been. Girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands, two equally harmful disciplines. the main question you should address is, why are these two equally harmful disciplines? You know, the topic says that girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands. The main thing is, why are they equally harmful? Equally harmful disciplines. Try to write in bullet points. What is it? Sorry. So the question is that should we write an essay subjectively or objectively? Of course, you write objectively. So all those who feel that they are engineers, you know, so a lot of students come and they very matter of factly say, "Ma'am, we are engineers, you know, we don't know how to do GS, you know, such philosophical essays. We've never done them." My answer is, actually, it's good you're engineers, because you need objectivity. You need to go from point A to B to C. So always write objectively. And do not give yourself a reason of being an engineer for not doing a good essay. These are just... It's only been 7 minutes, and I hope that a lot of you already have arguments. See, and in the exam we get 20 minutes. But I'm assuming that in the essay, most of you have arguments by now. This was just what 10 minutes looks like. A little more than 10. Now, 9 minutes. Okay, 9 minutes. This is what 9 minutes in the exam looks like. You get double this time to brainstorm in the actual exam. Ideally, you should take 20 minutes and write your essay in 1 hour, 10 minutes. Now, how many of you divided your essay into girls are weighed down by restrictions 1/2, boys with demands 2/2? Most of us. Now, but the topic is girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands, 2 equally harmful disciplines. How many of you addressed 2 equally harmful disciplines? Okay, that's a big number. But how come then you divided your essay and still did both sides together? Third part. Okay. So now the problem is that the syllabus said not the parts of the topic. The syllabus is keep closely to the subject of the essay. So the subject of the essay was not girls for you to show me, in different ways of how girls are weighed down by restriction. 2 pages, 3 pages, then 2-3 pages on boys are weighed down by demands. Ideally, if you're doing third part, at least 1 or 2 pages will go to girls, 1 or 2 pages will go to boys. So you introduce, introduction, roughly 2 pages, 1.5, 2 pages, itna to lagega. Then you do girls, 2 pages, boys, 2 pages. So 6 pages already gone, minimum. Then in the third part, you start with equally harmful disciplines. So what is the essence of the topic? The subject of the topic? Harmful disciplines. But that comes on page 7.
I actually followed a different approach. Like I mentioned the restrictions and then how it harmful discipline in each argument. Then how boys are weighed down.
Okay. So over here, we did differently where we mentioned each restriction and then we addressed how it is harmful. Then we did boys' demands, every demand, how they're harmful. But the topic is not how restrictions are harmful, how demands are harmful. The question is how they are equally harmful. Restrictions and demands. So topic is still not there. But what happens is when we write 1,000 to 1,200 words, your essay would ideally be 10 to 12 pages. It would ideally be, ideally what? It is 10 to 12 pages. Okay. And out of these 10 to 12 pages, we've already written 6. Now we are writing the 7th page. In a way, 60% essay is gone. In a way, if it was 10 pages, easy calculation, 60% essay is already gone. And the examiner is still reading it. He's saying, abhi topic aayega. Topic will come. Harmful disciplines, equally harmful disciplines. So the problem is that we read a question. We directly started addressing it. We did girls' restrictions. Let me show 2 pages. That's for your comfort and convenience. That's for you to understand. Similarly, we did boys' demands for your understanding. The topic required you to understand these 2 and then give me an analysis of why equally harmful. I hope you understand. Yes? Now, you had something to say. Yes, absolutely. You can start with an anecdote. You could start with an overall description of how, this is something which has always been there. The recognition by gender, be it girls or boys. So you could start with a quote, anecdote, story. Everything is fine. But again, the marks lie more than the anecdote and the introduction in your arguments. That's more pages. Okay, after say page number 2, that's where the marks are, maximum marks. So, what do you have to add? Okay, how many of you have done individual, society and nation? Be honest. Okay. I saw some copies. Yes. How many of you have done pestle, political, economic, social, something? Okay. Now, the problem is that when I do individual, society, nation, I'm effectively saying how restrictions and demands were harmful at an individual level. Same restrictions and demands, I will take another example and show it at a societal level. Then I'll take another example and I'll show it at a national level. But what I've done, I've only taken examples. It's only hence proving in a way that this is applicable at different levels. Individual, dekho ye ho raha hai. Society, see this is happening. This is what you've done. Okay, tell me your points.
Ma'am, at individual level, I have first mentioned the first example would be how it hampers personal ambition and growth. By just one example, if I feel, then how does it restricts the right to freedom of someone to choose, and post which there's at societal level how it is a bias towards girls and guys, and how these are.
How does that? Okay, so at an individual level, we discuss how it restricts freedom and choice. At a societal level, how we discuss how it is a bias. This bias was there at individual level also. We wrote it at the societal level, but it's the same thing because this bias also leads to restricting freedom and choice. So, in a way, it's saying the same thing differently.
Ma'am, the bias would be created in a society that girls are supposed to be homemakers, for example, and boys are supposed to be someone who will bring the finances to the family.
Okay.
So at a societal level, it's a bias.
So how is, okay, so there is a bias at the societal level which makes it equally harmful disciplines. My question to everybody, now the statement is, everyone is supposed to contribute. The statement is that there is a bias at societal level due to which, bias against or for girls and boys, where we have certain gender roles fixed. So how does it become equally harmful disciplines? What value do you want to add? But that's just the girl. Okay, double stress for the girl. It perpetuates stereotypes. Now that's the argument. So you feel guilt if you're not doing domestic chores, you're not fulfilling the purpose of your life, you're not doing your responsibilities. But end of the day, this bias will perpetuate patriarchy. It is equally harmful because both are unable to fulfill their life. Boys will be forced to perform certain. Yes, so there's a bias which will act on both, limiting the choice and freedom of both. So now the bias point, this is why I said that even if I do individual nation, society, nation, my argument will become one. That this bias, even if it's at the society level, it translates into restricting freedom and choice, due to which both genders, be it man or woman, girl or boy, will not be able to fulfill their life, and leading to, which is harmful discipline, which is harmful not for one but for both. So it's equally harmful. So now we have excess of everything is bad. Few things are just bad, excess or not. Why I'm saying this, because patriarchy is a gender construct. So when we discriminate, it's just bad. It's a negative concept. Okay. So I hope you understand that how individual and society came together. Okay. Now, anyone who wants to give me their arguments, let's discuss what could be the arguments in this. I hope you've understood why we were not. So when I rephrased it, it came together as a one comprehensive argument where it was visible what is it that I'm thinking and saying clearly. And then I would support it with an example. I hope we all see that. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Now, anyone who wants to give me their thoughts on the topic. Girls are weighed down by restrictions. Good, bad, wrong, incorrect, good, correct. Everything is invited. But please tell me, what are your thoughts? Okay, selective socialization of both genders. Anyone else? Okay, selective socialization of both genders. Violation of, it's basically a human right violation, or I would just write it for convenience right now as lack of choice. This lack of choice also translates into dignity and, living your life fully. Dignity and fuller life, full life. Sorry? Leads to creation of norms that we are expected to follow. But why are these norms wrong? Add a little. Okay. Because these norms kill the ambition, and again, we're not able to express ourselves. Yes. So let's write that. It leads to restricts self-actualization. It restricts self-actualization. What else?
Restrictions and demands both put set bias towards a particular gender and hence leads to the evolution of various social evil practices.
So this bias acts as that limiting everything, which leads to many, not just girls and boys, but many social evil practices stem from this practice of discrimination, of saying you can do this and you cannot. So a lot of practices start from there.
And the statement sees gender as a binary while it is a fluid concept. Therefore, it violates the rights of those who do not fit into boys and girls.
So the statement is seen as binary, gender as binary, whereas gender is a fluid concept. So the statement is also violating the rights of those who do not fit into this concept. I would add on this argument, emotional expectations are there, which again is restricting. But to add to that argument, I would also say that it's not just restricting, it creates an attitude of discrimination. Once you start doing this for a natural given gender, we can all, we start saying a girl can do this, cannot do this, and a boy should do this. There is this discrimination in the mind. I have the right to tell a person what you can do and cannot do. I do that for gender today. I do that for caste, class, region, everything later. And this perpetuates social injustice. Not just gender, not just patriarchy, but all social evil practices. A lot of social injustices will stem from this, because this gender was something which was natural. And then we start doing it for other factors also, other man-made factors. 1 second.
We also talk about bias, and we see that happening in this class as well. Like, we were discussing the papers and everybody was addressing the paper as his paper and not her paper.
Her paper.
So yeah, that also perpetuates injustice as well.
Yes. So when we were, girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands to equally harmful disciplines. So again, the mention is of bias. The point is that, there's this bias, but again, what's the argument?
It shows injustice and discriminates on so many levels.
Okay. So it discriminates on so many levels, which means it's again leading to, it's the source of so many social practices. Yes. So now again we build on bias and we say that it is on almost all levels of the society, plus it is also perpetuating itself. Okay. So now we have been discussing not just patriarchy, but more focuses on bias and how, on bias and how, when we talk about patriarchy, so can I say this as an argument? 1 second. Which is that girls are weighed down by restrictions, boys with demands to equally harmful disciplines is not just, when you normally think of patriarchy, the first thought which comes to mind is girls. Whereas it is both girls and boys. It's not just both, it's everybody. And it's been perpetuated because it becomes a part of a behavior. It's a bias which is being created, and the bigger problem that we don't even recognize it. So it's equally harmful. It's not just girls, it's everybody. And it's not just gender, again, it's other forms of social injustices also. Now that they also become a part of my argument. Yes. So when we say that it's perpetuating itself, we could give an example of toxic masculinity and Toxic masculinity and internalized misogyny. Yes. Okay. So the outcome is everybody is being equally affected, losing their agency to decide, agency to choose. Now this becomes an argument, which is not restriction, which is not demand, which is the whole topic. So one argument was bias. It was how it's perpetuating itself. Then it was how everybody is losing their freedom of choice, how to express themselves. So how to live a life, fuller life, how to live with dignity. All of this gets affected, and how it also leads to norms being established, but in a wrong way, with a negative intent.
Also, it hampers potential. What if Vikas Khanna, for that matter, wouldn't have been allowed to go into the kitchen?
So it's equally harmful discipline. Now we have another reason why it's also equally harmful, because you're not, I'll just write it here itself. You're not performing to your potential, but something else.
It might lead to environmental degradation, because exploitation of nature is also a patriarchal philosophy that man is the consumer of the things. Ecofeminism, basically.
I am okay. So the argument is ecofeminism. There's a request to the class to help put this topic in the context of the put this argument in the context of the topic, which is how ecofeminism, or how this leads to environmental degradation. I'm still not clear how I would put it as an argument.
Ecofeminism says that the destruction of the environment is caused by the patriarchal instinct that man is the only.
It is that women or females, feminism, that they are supposed to be the protectors of environment. You know, we always say Mother Earth. So it's feminine. So
example like Saraswati goddess, but women are restricted to education. Durga strong, but women are considered like that.
yes. So the example, can we write an example of, can we say that Saraswati is considered a goddess, but women themselves are restricted from education? Durga as strong, power, but women are seen as weak. Lakshmi money, but women do not have financial independence. So yes, that's an example for girls are weighed down by restrictions and how it's affecting them. So it is an example. Again, you'll have many examples. And as long as they're right, they do not say poor are poor because they don't want to work. They're all good. You know, as long as this is something, an example that you can stand on a stage as an officer and be able to say, it will be a good example. Okay? Okay. No, it does. Because, okay, an example will always, so the question was, the example does not cater to both sides of the coin. So is it a good example or not? My answer is the example does not cater to the whole topic. Your examples will always cater to the argument. It will depend on the argument, what I'm trying to show, not to the topic. The topic example is only the introduction. All the other examples point to your arguments, not to your topic. Okay? Last seat. Okay. Now, this is also what happens when we start brainstorming. We'll have, we'll write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dignity, full life, potential, mental health. But if you look at it, they're all saying the same thing. So what will happen is, if you write them separately, you will say that I have 7 points. There will be students who bolte hain ki we have 20 arguments. Now those 20 arguments mein 4 are saying the same thing. So you consolidate. So when he says mental health, I will write it over here itself. The way it's affecting health and dignity. So maybe I say that it affects mental health by virtue of affecting dignity, this and this, of a person.
Every example we give, we need to address how it is harmful. Like
every example you give has to address the point that you're making, the argument. So if you were making an argument of bias, of how this bias and social evil practices are being perpetuated, That's what you show. Then you don't show the harmful. That's the topic. That's the introduction. Your example will always address the argument. Anyone else wants to say?
Can we connect it with economic growth and we are not able to achieve potential economic growth because people are not able to
Yes.
harness their potential?
Yes, we can say that we are unable to. Once again. We are unable to. So effectively, the outcome of all of this discussion is that men and girls and boys alike are unable to achieve their potential, be it economic, be it otherwise, because of these restrictions and demands, unable to perform. Now, okay, one last argument. The same point. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Leads to intergenerational transmission of inequalities.
Leads to?
Intergenerational.
Yes. So when we say equally harmful disciplines, it's not just since it gets perpetuated, so we can make a separate argument and say that it leads to intergenerational equality. This is what you're saying, no? Yes. So it leads to intergenerational equality. So now what we did differently is, instead of starting with restrictions 2 pages, demands 2 pages, and then equally harmful, we started with equally harmful, and there we showed restrictions and demands. This is the difference that we did. So we started with equally harmful in the form of bias, in the form of selective socialization, in the form of saying that how it leads to lack of choice. And then we went on and showed with the help of examples how both are being affected, with the help of some reasoning. Also, what we did differently now was, in our way forward, now we are not going to say girls should be empowered by ABC, boys should be given more freedom. That's again girls and boys. Instead, we could have said that there is a need to understand both, to have more freedom of expression for both. It's not that you'll give a prescriptive answer कि girls को अलग से empower करना है और education देना है, boys need something else. They both need the same thing. The minute we start talking now in terms of the whole essay, your way forward will feel different. Now your way forward will not again be divided into girls and boys. Your way forward will be on equally harmful. Since it's equally harmful, it needs the same resolution for both. Both need to understand each other's dilemma or predicaments. What is happening, right? And that is how you go with a way forward. And we say that when everyone feels empowered, be it boys with less demands or girls with less restrictions, they will live, they will be better demographic dividend, better utilization, more effectiveness, more productivity, whatever way you want to conclude. But now you're talking about the full topic. So we started with the full topic, then we took restrictions and demands, and then we again went back to the full topic. If you do not address it as equally harmful, the only difference is you waste your first 6 pages. And the argument has still not come. This is why first we start with equally harmful, then we go to restrictions and demands. If you did not do the first, you did not focus on the complete topic, what will also happen is your way forward will also not be the complete topic. It will still be a GS way forward. And for GS way forward, we already have GS paper 750 marks. GS 1, 2 and 3. Society, social justice and economy. You already have 750 marks there. Okay? So we don't do that here. I hope you understand what's been done differently. Yes? Now, do you have any question? Yes? We should. Yes, that's a good question. So so far we concurred with the statement, we agreed with it. We showed how it is an argument, how we agree with it. In an essay, we will always have counter arguments. So for example, here also we can say that they are equally harmful, but then there are few sections who are more vulnerable, who experience more impact as compared to the other. For example, women, girls, and this is why they are the more spoken about, the more discussed. So definitely we will always have counter arguments where you will say that it is not necessary that this statement is 100% true. The impact is same, but the intensity of impact on different sections is different, right? So it's equally harmful, but more harmful for girls. Should we put the counter argument in the initial page or later? My answer is later. You always write it after the arguments, which is roughly page 6, page 7. Okay? Should you do argument, counter argument, argument, counter argument? No. You always do your arguments first, counter arguments later. Otherwise, it would be like the 𝐟𝐨𝐥𝐿 essay, where you don't know what is being said. You know, the first 2 screenshots, we didn't know what was being said. So I say वो Wimbledon का match हो जाता है, you know, TikTok, argument, counter argument, you don't want that. So you want clarity, flow, first do your arguments, agree, then you change and do counter arguments. Okay? Counter arguments, yes. So the question is, can counter arguments be positive? Absolutely yes, because the word used is counter arguments, it's not antithesis. Counter arguments just means a different perspective of the topic. You know, for example, when we say 2 equally harmful disciplines, we could have made all levels as a counter argument and said that it's not, you know, throughout your essay you talk about boys and girls, and then you say actually it's not just boys and girls, it's everybody. The question is how to write 11-12 pages. The word limit is 10 to 12. So if we do examples, we're addressing the same point again and again. So the question is, how do we write 11 to 12 pages? You write 2 pages of introduction, 1 to 2 pages of 1-page conclusion. How many of you know that introduction is different from body? How is an introduction different from body of the essay? Then? Anyone else? Introduction does not add anything new. It just prepares the ground. Introduction is like your best example. Introduction is just going to show that how this topic is true. That is why when we were discussing examples, I said the example which addresses the full topic is your introduction. All the other examples are addressing your arguments. Because introduction is just telling the examiner what you understood from the topic and shows the topic application, you know. It just shows it to be true.
Glimpse of the essay. Glimpse of the essay.
Sorry?
Introduction just glimpse of the essay.
It just gives the glimpse of the essay. It just, I will say not the essay itself, but the topic. What's the, you know, your understanding is there. That this is what's the understanding, a broad understanding with the help of a very, very broad example. Okay? So this is how introduction is different from the body. And way forward is different from the conclusion, because my simple reference is you do way forward in your GS and then you write that 1 closing line of conclusion. We do that? That's what we do in essay also. You write your way forward and then you write that conclusion. If way forward is suggestions, the examiner does not know because suggestions khatam ho gaye, abhi aur nahi aa raha hai. So we write that 1 concluding statement, which is like a vision statement, way forward, final statement, that my essay is over, full stop. Okay. We will be discussing a lot more in the workshops of how is an introduction different from the body, how do we divide our pages. Yes. Tell me.
In the like this, we had, as you said, in the starting of the pages, we have to write arguments that cater to the harmful discipline. So we have not made 26 like this is like lack of president.
Yes, yes.
So there is a crunch of points.
Okay. So the question is that there is a crunch of points to be written in the essay. So how do we fill 12 pages? So when we fill 12 pages, you write roughly 2.5 paragraphs per page. We have 12 pages, so you write 1 to 2 pages of introduction. Then we have till page number 6. 6 to 8 is roughly counter arguments. 1 to 6 was arguments. And then you have a way forward. Okay? This is a way forward. Now, when you look at your arguments, it is 4 pages, roughly 8 paragraphs. And we had content, when we discussed right now, we were just, giving an overview of the points, but they would be explained, then they'll have one example for every point, and you'll be able to write. Okay? Again, this is not a comprehensive brainstorming, but you would be able to write. Because all that you have is 4 pages of arguments, few pages of counter arguments, and then way forward and conclusion. This is how you write your whole essay. So more often than not, it will feel ki essay kaise hoga? How do you write 12 pages or 10 pages for that matter? But once you start writing, again, essay is all about practice. So you should practice and you'll be able to get there. In the classes, we'll have 5 workshops, 5 to 6 workshops. Workshops are different from theme classes in the way that workshops are aimed at how to write an essay. What is an introduction? So the ones highlighted in green are workshops. They're like, how do you choose your topic? How do you brainstorm? What's an introduction? How to conclude? What are arguments? What are dimensions of arguments? Etc. And then analyzing the PYQ papers. Very, very important. And the theme classes are focused on, we already have, all the essays. We took a look at a lot of topics, many from 3 years, 24 topics. And we saw that these topics had certain common familiar words. So the theme classes are focused on, of course, hands-on on brainstorming these themes and the PYQs, but also the content that you already have, how do you reuse it in an essay? The problem is not the content, problem is the mindset. The same content for patriarchy and society, you have lots of data, but how do you convert that into an essay? Right? Democracy, ya fir standing still. How do you write an essay which captures all the themes? So this is the difference between theme classes and workshops, where we will start with workshops so that you understand how to write an essay. And the most important thing would be for you to interact, just like today. To give answers, interact, and that's how we'll take the classes forward. Okay? After every class, every theme class, there's going to be a test, a sectional test, so that you can apply everything that you've done in the workshop and the theme class in the test. Now, do you have any question? Anyone? Any question? Yes.
The very common problem I face that we only had 1 to 3 arguments, like solid arguments, and rest all were like digressing from the topic. So how do we come up with like strong substantive arguments?
Okay. So let's say the question is, how do we come up with strong substantive arguments? So when we go to the PYQ, let us say this. So you will see that a PYQ has keywords and there's an interplay of keywords. Let us say education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. You came up with 1 or 3 arguments, but then there is a pause and you are not able to think beyond. So what we do is we go back to the topic. We go back to the topic and look at the other keywords of the topic. What else is the topic saying? What one has learned in school. Now you start thinking, what did I learn in school? Or what does one learn in school that is forgotten and becomes education? Maybe that converts into an argument. So you will have to go back to your topic again and again to see what did I miss, what part of the essay or the topic can I address better. And again, when you practice brainstorming is how you come up with more comprehensive arguments and you're able to write complete 10 pages and not just filling up the pages. We saw a copy which was just filling up pages. So if you fill up pages, you get marks for filling up pages. If you take a shortcut, like pestle approach, you'll get marks for taking a shortcut. What's expected of you is to sit there. It's a new topic for everybody. Absolutely everybody. Nobody knew what's going to come. So what you develop as a practice before the exam is, how do I approach a very new topic? Okay? And when you practice that, you will be practicing brainstorming. You'll practice how to make sure that you have at least 4 arguments and 4 to 5 counter arguments which allow you to fill your pages. And again, you're not just filling, but you're conveying your point clearly. So again, this will come with practice, but the most common thing that you should be doing, the simplest thing is go back to the topic and see, what did I miss? What part of discussion can be generated? What else can I debate on this topic? And you'll get your points. Okay. Anyone else has any doubt?
When we write essay, it's like a pastel approach. तो हमें अलग से heading देना पड़ेगा कि we are going to live on.
When we write essay, the question is, when we write essay in pastel approach, should we give heading separately? Every essay? So as I said, that headings or no headings, UPSC is silent. If you feel your writing skill is good, the flow is automatically there. Don't give headings. If you feel that you're unable to transition from arguments to counter arguments or to way forward, give heading. Okay? So this will depend. Again, essay is very, very subjective to your skills. What do you want to write? Who are you? Okay? And that will come across in the paper, as we saw for different essays today. Okay? The question is, if we are writing arguments and counter arguments, is there a general structuring of how to write an essay? My answer is yes. We usually write the argument first and the example later, but we will see this more in the workshops. I can just give you a rough reason why, because it's always easier to first say what you're saying and then show it. You write your example first, pad liya. We don't know why we read the example. Then the argument comes. The examiner is not going to go back up and then read your example again. So it's always a good practice. Argument first, example later. That's the structuring we do. But again, we'll discuss all of this in more detail in the workshops. Okay? Now, anyone else has any doubt? No. So our classes start. 1 second. So our classes start on 13th, on 10th of August, and that is when I start seeing you, 10th of August. And although the final day for the workshop is yet to be finalized, only the days of workshop might change. They will still have, the theme classes are definitely happening on these days. Workshop timings and might be a little change because it's clashing with current affairs. Yes. So that's why we are going to change it, but you'll get an email on when's the workshop. But it will happen in the week of 10th August. Okay? At 5 p.m. Okay. Done. So we'll keep, the request is to keep it at 5 p.m. How many of you are more comfortable in the evening than morning? Almost everybody. Okay. Noted. And thank you for coming. Thank you.